All right. So this is very exciting. October 28th, 2023 brings us our final eclipse along the Taurus-Scorpio axis. The eclipses will light up a polarity of signs for roughly 18 months. So we've been working with this theme since November 19th of 2021, when we saw our very first eclipse in Taurus. So this is our final eclipse. So this eclipse is going to wrap up that story. So think about where Taurus and Scorpio fall in your chart. Think about the important developments and disruptions and course altering shifts that have occurred along that polarity in your chart. So you want to look at that, and you really do want to look at that because Scorpio, there's so much happening during Scorpio season 2023 in our Scorpio sector. So even though we're not seeing an eclipse in that area, it is a lunar eclipse. So it is highlighting this Taurus-Scorpio polarity. So we're going to see a wrapping up of themes there, a nice little ribbon bow on top for all the things that have happened and what it all means for us personally. So be open to those revelations because that's what lunar eclipses are good for. Very often they show us something very important, something that shifts our direction in a very pivotal way, just from simply looking at something from an angle that you never ever considered before. So pay attention to what is arising in terms of perspective shifts relative to this area of your life. On the world stage as well, this is going to be the final hurrah. As we can see, the nodes have already shifted into Aries and Libra, and we're already seeing these new themes starting to play out. Especially in terms of world events. One of the biggest sort of subtexts that I'm noticing in the wake of the Hamas-Israeli conflict is the commentary on the floor. You know, here where I am in the States, obviously, like I'm not really in a strong position to comment on these issues, being that I don't live over there, and I also am not the most educated person on these issues. I'm doing my best to learn and to understand. But that said, I'm noticing a lot of commentary from my peers around whether to fight or not. Is fighting appropriate or not? What makes violence okay? And so I'm not saying one way or the other that one side of the argument is more valid than the other. I'm just simply pointing out here that is not a Taurus. That is an Aries Libra conversation. So over the next 2 years, as we see the eclipses continue to play out along the Aries Libra axis, that is going to continue to be a major player, a major pillar of morality in the social sphere, in the collective, as well as in our personal lives. So yeah, I've done another video on the Aries Libra axis with the nodal shift there. So go ahead and check that out for more information there. But for the rest of this video, I want to focus on the themes that are concluding, the themes that are wrapping up. So what's happened? What's changed since 2021? Well, a lot. 2021, when we started to see the eclipses happen here along the Taurus-Scorpio axis, the biggest change, at least from in my book, is the costs of living. Taurus representing everyday staples like food, thinking like the roof over your head, things like that. All of that we've depended on. We depend on being able to go to the grocery store and get what we need without thinking twice about it, for most people or the average person. And, you know, we're seeing a greater divide of wealth in the wake of the pandemic. Like what was already a very unequal balance of wealth got even greater. And so with the inflation of prices of everyday commodities, that has really disrupted Taurus, being able to just have a simple pleasure of going to the grocery store and get what you want. Now it's like more people have to cut corners and cut costs and think about their budget and everything like that. Or Scorpio, being a little bit more scrappy before you go shopping, using up what's in your cupboards before you go. So that's been a really big thing. Also, and as we're getting toward the end, I did see that Canada is taking measures to freeze prices and putting the pressure on grocery stores, like the big chains, to make prices reasonable again. So might we see a continuation of these themes, an attempt to resolve, an attempt to reconcile where some of those costs have gotten out of hand? I know that the housing market here in the United States is starting to slow down, at least where I live. So yeah, perhaps we'll see some sort of attempt to regulate that. So yeah, we should expect to see more of those themes sort of wrapping up on the world stage. The other big thing that I've seen really highlighted along this polarity is where we source our energy from. That's been a really big thing that's been happening globally, especially with the war in Russia and Ukraine. There's been a big shift in Europe around where nations source various energies. And so, yeah, that's another really big topic that the Taurus-Scorpio axis has been highlighting, is where we source our resources from. And another thing that this axis has really brought up too is jobs. And a lot more people have started working for themselves, choosing to kind of slow things down a little bit. Taurus, how can I sort of take myself out of this hustle, nonstop mentality? So we've seen a lot more people sort of start up their own projects. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of the infrastructure around how we work really change. And that's been happening a lot throughout this Taurus-Scorpio eclipses. And much of that might also be due to Uranus in Taurus. But nonetheless, we may see a continuation of themes there. I mean, right now, as we wrap up this series, there's a lot of discussion around wages and a lot of strikes that have been going on. As of right now, as I'm recording, the United Auto Workers Union is still on strike and trying to negotiate better wages. The nurses and healthcare providers at Kaiser Permanente have negotiated new contracts. So yeah, there's just, and also the people in the film industry as well. So yeah, wages and being able to keep up with these rising costs of living, those two things work hand in hand. So we're going to see sort of a wrapping up of those themes there. Now let's talk about this eclipse chart in particular. So we've got this final lunar eclipse is happening at 5 degrees Taurus. This is a hot degree. We had Mercury and Jupiter, well, Mercury stationed direct at this degree earlier in the year. We're also going to see Jupiter stationed direct at this degree at the very end of December, activating this eclipse. So pay attention to what's coming up around this eclipse, because Jupiter is going to activate it again at the end of December in a very big way. So yeah, this eclipse obviously is ruled by Venus in her fall in Virgo. Now, Venus has friends in Virgo. Venus has triplicity. So even though we have a fallen planet ruling the eclipse, she has assistants. So it's like whatever this eclipse is saying about the state of affairs, things are bad, but there's something about it that is leveling out or playing into some kind of assistance there. So yeah, this eclipse is ruled by a fallen Venus in Virgo. So it's as if to say, things have gotten pretty bad when it comes to resources and things like that. There's been a major disruption here. It doesn't look like things are going to get much better, but with Venus holding triplicity, maybe they will in some way, shape, or form. Maybe there's some way that we're still going to feel supported in some way, even though things are not good and they don't seem to necessarily be looking up. Venus is also in a wide opposition with Neptune. So there's maybe a great sense of confusion or hopelessness that people are experiencing around the changes that have happened here. Some other things that we are seeing along this eclipse, I mean, if you look at the sun and the moon in this chart, it's very dynamic. The sun is in a very close orbit with Mercury and Mars, and those planets are opposite Jupiter, which is conjunct the moon. So we have the lunar eclipse conjunct Jupiter, again, kind of affirming some of the sentiments I just shared here around stuff is not good right now. Jupiter, being a planet of abundance and hope and opportunity, is being eclipsed by the moon right now. So yeah, so there might be like this very kind of Saturn and Pisces sense of hopelessness. Where is the silver lining? We can't see it from here. Where is it? And yeah, and I know that a lot of people, especially people in war zone, will be feeling that a lot more acutely, but certainly those of us who are affected by the blights of the economy might also really be feeling that at this time as well. So opposite Jupiter, we've got Mars. Mars opposite Jupiter, not necessarily a fun combination, especially when war is going on. This can be an intensification of conflict. For us personally, this can also just be an immense passion, an immense desire, having a lot of energy to give to something. I know that's something I prefaced in our Scorpio season summary around there's a lot kind of brewing for us behind the scenes. So looking at what lights you up, what angers you, what frightens you, what disgusts you, what makes you enraged, that's something that might be provoked by this eclipse. And you can't see it in this chart, but we've also got Eris on the North Node. So yeah, what inflames us is kind of a big question. Now, Mercury thrown in here too. This is a big one because this is going to be a theme that we're going to be exploring a little bit more as Mercury enters Sagittarius later in the month. But there's going to be some big reveals here. Even though Mercury in Scorpio tends to be very tight-lipped and very private, there's kind of an opening of the floodgates here with Jupiter. So something gets leaked, something is said that wasn't meant to be said or shared, maybe not with that audience or with the whole world, but there's going to be some kind of leak, some kind of informational leak that really upsets, that creates a lot of upset. Mercury Mars is a little bit of a flamethrower aspect, a little bit of a verbal attack going on. So I think that this also really speaks to a lot of the cultural tensions that are being experienced globally right now as a result of the Israeli-Hamas conflict going on. There's a lot of tensions and a lot of people, we live in a time where it seems like, and I mean, ironically, as I sit in front of a computer kind of alluding to it, like everyone has to make a statement nowadays. It's like everyone feels the pressure to make their voice heard. And that's part of the chaos of social media, which we're seeing with Eris on the North Node, the chaos of social media. In a way, it's empowered all of us to have a voice, but it's also made things a lot more chaotic, just like the myth of Eris. It's crazy. So yeah, this seems to really highlight some of those tensions here of everyone having an opinion and people kind of coming under fire for that. So yeah, that's just something to watch for here with that aspect. And it's going to be felt in a bigger way since the eclipse aligns with it. So yeah, it might be happening in your personal sphere, but look on the world stage because people and the slips of the tongue are going to get them in trouble there. So that's a little bit about this eclipse going on. Should be a dynamic one. This Neptune on the ascendant is quite interesting to me. Being on the ascendant of Washington, D.C., great deal of confusion. Maybe there's something with lies, propaganda to be watched for, specific to this location. But for right now, I think that's enough for this eclipse. And let's see what happens. With eclipses, it's good to keep an open mind because they tend to bring things out of left field, things that we weren't necessarily expecting, things that we didn't necessarily see coming. So yeah, I hope that for you personally, that this eclipse feels supportive, that it's bringing some powerful illuminations for you along the Taurus-Scorpio polarity in your chart. And on the world stage, I just, I pray for the families, and I pray for individual sovereignty. And I hope everyone stays safe out there. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. For a deeper look at how the planets are lighting up your life, you can book your next astrology reading with me, and we'll take a deeper look at your progressions, your perfections, your solar return, so that you can go forward with a greater deal of confidence and preparedness about what lies ahead. I look forward to connecting with you, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.